What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, joined by the one, the only, Kessel. We are here to recap game number 5 of the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Ottawa Senators. And the Pittsburgh Penguins actually scored more than 5. They scored 7. That's a touchdown and an extra point, and they shut out the Ottawa Senators 7-0. Touchdown Steelers. So the Penguins responded huge. Obviously, they won game number 4. That's 2 in a row for the Penguins in this series. And now it's going to be heading to Ottawa, with Ottawa on the brink of elimination. We're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss this game. What happened to the Senators? Was it good Penguins? Was it bad Senators? Was it a little bit of both? We'll discuss all of that and more. Also, we'll probably throw a little bit of the World Championship final. I'm not sure, Kev, if you saw any of that game, but I'll probably be talking a little bit about it because a lot of the Penguins game, for the most part, was a blowout. The first period ended 4-0, so you were kind of switching back and forth between each game. And then once the third period for that game, which was 1-1, went into overtime, went into a shootout. So a lot of hockey fans were also tuning into that to watch that. So we'll probably jump back and forth, but we're going to primarily be talking about the Penguins and Senators. Kev, what was your thoughts on the game tonight? Did you think the Penguins would come out this hot and win this game, or was this totally unexpected? And, what's the biggest concern going forward?
Well, I think that Mike Sullivan is listening to the bottom line view as part of his coaching strategy. Let me explain. He heard me talk about red flags, and he made an adjustment to goaltending and defense. He heard Adam talk about take Connor Sheary off of Crosby's line, and he did it. And look how productive Crosby has been the last 2 games. So I think that the bottom line view is contributing in many ways to the Penguins' success with our brilliant analysis. I'm partially kidding, but really I think that this has been actually a story of coaching and adjustments. And I did say that there were red flags with the Penguins, but I also said that they would win. And I think part of it is the Senators are just running out of gas. I think that there was the Penguins in game 5, or game 4, I felt really took it to another level with their play. And I just don't think that Ottawa, yes, they made it 3-2 in the last minute, but they just haven't been able to take it to that same level that the Penguins have. And the Penguins started off really, it was from start to finish. This was a blowout. Yes, they scored their first goal only 8 minutes in instead of 48 seconds in, but this was all over. No one really tonight was great for Ottawa, and I just think that the Penguins have just taken it to another level, and it looks to me like the Senators' tank is empty. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing as well. But you did say a couple of things there. Let's start at the beginning of what you said with Mike Sullivan, because I actually feel like, and I was going to say this when we talked about the Conn Smythe winners. Obviously, a coach can't win one, but when you look at what Mike Sullivan has done, of course he did it last year, but looking at this year's playoffs, the way that he adjusted with multiple players out of the lineup, the way that he's adjusted in the Capital series, he adjusted and he motivated his team after them getting shellacked, then coming back in the Senators series after they got shellacked once again, making that bold move to put Murray in the net. I think you could argue that the most valuable player for the Penguins hasn't been a player. It's actually been their coach. I think Mike Sullivan has done an excellent job in proving once again that he is an elite coach in this league. And of course, you need the players to get it done. The players performed tonight. And I think they, had a huge, huge spark in this game. And I'll get to that spark plug in just a little bit. But the Penguins, if you're just joining us, 7-0 over the Ottawa Senators. And the last point you made there, well, you did make a point about red flags, which of course I wanted to point out, Kev, but you kind of saved yourself there at the beginning. I wanted to point out that Kessel was talking to Penguins fans. Get on Kessel here. Kessel was all over the Penguins. Red flags. The defense is done. Crosby's hurt. The goaltending is inconsistent. All this stuff. Red flags. He sees the red flags. but the Penguins proved that maybe those red flags were a little bit, overestimated. But
were they overestimated, or did the coaching make an adjustment? Because this team isn't as frustrated as they looked in Game 2 and Game 3.
Maybe it was a matter of getting used to the style of play that Ottawa was playing and adjusting to that.
That could be. There could be a number of things to that. They are now they may be the healthiest team, funny enough, of all 4 teams remaining in the playoffs.
And that's strange because they still didn't have, there was 3 guys. Was it 3 or 2? 2 guys. So Rust played tonight. Sheary got pulled, but he was a healthy scratch from the lineup. Schultz, I believe he warmed up, but he didn't play, obviously. And then Hornquist warmed up but didn't play. So it seems like Hornquist and Schultz are on their way back, but they didn't play tonight, which might have been an excellent move there as well. But the one guy that I do want to say that I think provided a huge spark to the Penguins right at the beginning of the game was Bryan Rust. This guy came right back from injury, a little bit of a concussion from that hit from Phaneuf that we all saw, which was maybe a turning point in the series as well for Ottawa to gain some momentum. But Bryan Rust coming back from the injury, the concussion in this game, just right at the beginning, was the biggest reason in the first period why they were on, fire. Because Bryan Rust on that third line, we've been saying how Nick Bonino's kind of been invisible offensively, and they put Bryan Rust with him on the third line and Rowney as well. And these 3 guys, Rust got a goal. Bonino had an assist in this game. Rowney got 3 points, or Bonino got 2 points. Rowney got 3 points. So all these 3 guys in that third line played their best game. And I know that Rowney's kind of been on the fourth line, but Bonino played his best game. Russ played a great game, and Russ just skating around, getting to the puck first, battling in the corners, hitting guys, forecheck. And I felt like that just impacted the first, the second, the third, the fourth lines for the Penguins. And then they just continuously were putting pressure on Ottawa. And like Kev said, it seemed like Ottawa didn't have the legs. It seemed like they're running out of gas. It seemed like as soon as the Penguins hit the ice, they were to every puck first. They were getting to every opportunity first. They were blocking shots. They were doing everything correct. And this was probably their best game of the playoffs through and through. But, I mean, it's something about Ottawa. Like Ottawa isn't this bad. Like they lost 7-0 tonight to the Penguins. And sure, a lot of that has to do with the momentum of the Penguins, just, goal after goal after goal. But there was just shifts where the Penguins looked like they were playing a middle school, volleyball team here. Like it was pretty bad. The Penguins were outworking them to everything. And the coaching, made no adjustments really. Is it the injuries that are starting to pile up for the Senators? What exactly is it, Kev, do you think, that why is Ottawa losing so much steam? Is it because the Penguins are that much more talented and finally the talent is showing up, or what is it?
I think it's in part because the Penguins had the depth to go this far, and Ottawa is, in a sense, the Cinderella story. And when you're Cinderella, when you're kind of in the underdog role, you're not expected to go this far. And I think that I honestly think that this is a team that's running out of gas. No Burrows, no Stallberg. I don't think Stallberg has played in this series, maybe a couple of minutes. I'm a little surprised they didn't play Chris Neal tonight. I thought he would have brought a spark. And I'm going to bring
maybe
up
they will next game.
Yeah, probably. But I'm going to bring up something that I think has been admired, but I think is starting to turn ugly. And it's this Erik Karlsson getting frustrated with his teammates.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you can go ahead and finish your point, but I'm going to rip into Erik Karlsson as well.
Yeah, I just think that there's a time and a place to do that. And he was ripping into Kyle Turris Game 5. He was ripping in to his teammates a little bit tonight, and I don't think I'm sure he's the leader, but I think that he has to look in the mirror and take some solace. And the way that he played tonight wasn't great. He was maybe one of the worst players of the game, I might dare say. And I think that this team is becoming fractured and frustrated. And you can't. There's times and places. I mean, we talked about when Malkin and Kessel looked frustrated, and they were able to adjust. And we talked earlier about how Karlsson took the bull by the horns. This team looked completely listless and lost. I mean, Mitch, they huddled around Mike Condon like they were the Ottawa Red Blacks in a football huddle at one point. I don't like this team looks completely dysfunctional
and exactly, Kev. And this is I said after the first period, I tweeted this. If you follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at Mitch Milani. I tweeted this after the first period. You can also follow Kevin at Kevol on Twitter. So follow us there. But with Erik Karlsson, it all starts with your captain. When your captain is putting in this effort, the captain is supposed to be like, you look at Crosby and how he fights for the puck and how he continuously comes back. He'll get knocked down, he'll get up, he'll shoot the puck. Crosby's been playing fabulous for the last 3 games. Karlsson was, there was points in the game where it was a winger for Pittsburgh would come down and try and hit him, and he would move out of the way and give him the puck. He was playing a little soft, and I don't know if it's because he's hurt or whatever, but at times in this game, Karlsson was, first off, very impatient with his teammates, like Kev said, and then just not putting in 100% effort. He's not going into the corner with full speed to get the puck. Is he scared to get hit because he's hurt? I don't know. He's taking shots at times to try and get back in the game and get a rhythm, but he's not. He just doesn't look like the Erik Karlsson that we know and love. I'm personally not a big Erik Karlsson fan because I have seen this before from him, and a lot of people do love Erik Karlsson, and that's fine and everything. I'm personally not a huge fan. I understand that he's a great player, arguably the best defenseman in the NHL, and probably is. But there are times like this where he's supposed to be the leader of the team. He's supposed to be the spark plug of the team. And when your team's getting dominated early in a game, go out there and don't just talk it, but do it. Play it. The words don't need to be said when you're going out there and you're putting out an effort like a guy like Crosby does. So for me, Karlsson, just the leadership more than anything was a little bit off in his play tonight. He didn't show 100% effort, and I think that was a huge reason why Ottawa looked very sluggish, because their captain didn't look into the game.
Yeah, and he only played 12 minutes today, so that could be injury. That could be that they're trying to save him for after it was 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, that they didn't want to play him anymore. That could be it. But he wasn't. I didn't find him to be incredibly sharp in Game 5, although he played 27-18. He had 1 block, 1 giveaway, 4 shots on goal. And where's Dion Phaneuf? If I'm Ottawa, that would be another question. Where's
Dion Phaneuf? I said this before the series. I don't know if you remember, but I said Dion Phaneuf is going to have a bad series. Now, he has had a couple of decent moments in games, but I don't know. Dion Phaneuf, it seems almost like the Penguins are picking on him.
Yeah, in some senses, I think that there was some frustration before, but I think the charm with Dion Phaneuf is his physicality. Yes. The anger with Dion Phaneuf is his physicality, because at times he comes across, he's undisciplined, and he goes for the big hit when it's not necessarily there, and he can be skated around for sure. And I think that's where the Penguins are really coming up. But we're spending some time. One guy that has turned it around for Pittsburgh, Chris Kunitz, has been a bit of a revelation, though.
Yeah, Chris Kunitz has been pretty good. This is a guy that has obviously been one of the captains, one of the leaders for the Penguins for the past, almost 10 years now. He's been a staple of the organization. But recently, I don't know if you've seen this, Kev, but especially this past season, a lot of Penguins fans have been turning on Chris Kunitz. And it wasn't until this last couple of, this playoff run or the last couple of series where he's really been turning it on. Now he's playing on the first line. He's reigniting with Sidney Crosby. He's getting the best out of Crosby like he was a couple of years ago. And that's really nice to see because Kunitz is a great leader. And obviously, the guy isn't the most talented in the world, but he's at times found ways to score, found ways to, get assists. But he's there to make a physical impact. He's there to be that leader on the ice. He always makes the smart play, and he's seemingly doing that now. He's not going to score the 35 goals that he used to, but he's going to go out there and he's going to be kind of like one of those spark plugs that Pittsburgh has. And something I did want to say is you mentioned that Burrows wasn't in, Neal hasn't played. It seems like the Penguins have, like, now that with all these injuries, they've put guys in the lineup like like Rowney's, for example. These guys that are kind of like Burrows when he was younger, like Burrows just run around and hit guys and, go to the net and crash and go get in the scrums and stuff. And I think Ottawa, Burrows isn't the greatest player anymore, but they are missing a little bit of that kind of edge to their game too.
Yeah, they are. A lot of edge was missed, and that's why I wondered why you wouldn't play a Chris Neal in a pretty important game 5. I mean, you have to win at least one game in Pittsburgh if you're going to win this series, and you want to go back. I would, if I was Ottawa, I would be wanting to go back home up 3-2. I don't think that they were expecting it to be a 7-0 blowout, but they seemed like a team that wasn't ready to go at the start, and Pittsburgh was ready to go. And there's a lack of something at this point, and I think it's partial energy, and I think it's partially experience, and a guy like Burrows not being there, but a guy like Chris Neal can bring that spark, and I'm confused why they're not using him at this point in time. You look at a guy like Cody McLeod as an example in Nashville, and the spark he doesn't have to play a lot of shifts, but he comes in there, does his thing, brings some energy to Nashville, and he goes on.
Yeah, like do you see a guy on this Ottawa team that is used in that role? Like, we have multiple Penguins who are used in that role now. Like, maybe that was one of their weaknesses in the middle of that Capital series. They weren't hitting enough, and they weren't, edgy enough. And now they've kind of brought that into the Ottawa series, mostly forced on by injuries, and it's worked out for the best. But Ottawa, like, you look across their lineup, they have some skilled players, some guys that can put the puck in the net, but they don't necessarily have those guys that are going to have those, 6-7 hits. They're going to drive to the net. They're going to cause madness, So that is missing from their lineup a little bit. And part of that is Burrows. Part of that is, I don't know why they don't have Neal. I mean, he could only play a couple shifts a night. He's not very useful, like, offensively or anything, but he can go out there. He can change momentum with a fight or with a big hit or, doing something.
Well, Ottawa got a lot of hits tonight. Like, looking at the numbers, I mean, Turris had 6 hits. Ryan had 6 hits.
Yeah, but these are guys like Turris, Ryan. Yeah. These guys are supposed to score.
Phaneuf had 5. Mathot had 4. Maybe they were doing more hitting than they were doing anything else, though. And maybe it seemed like they weren't in that Boucher structure in any way, shape, or form. That certainly frustrates teams. There was nothing like that today. They seem to be all over the place.
Do you think that was Ottawa, or do you think that was Pittsburgh kind of adjusting to it? Like, I'm kind of in the middle, because I've sensed that every game Pittsburgh has gotten better at breaking it down.
I think it's I think it's a bit of both. I think
Ottawa obviously didn't have their best effort, but I feel like Pittsburgh's adjustments have led up to this point, and finally they were putting the puck in the net.
Yeah, I think after the 4-0 first period, if you go back to that, they seem to have. I think bringing back Matt Murray was a sense of a different sort of confidence with this team, and I think that another guy that we didn't have a talk about was Jacques Martin, assistant coach. He's a guy that's very defensive. He I think was able to kind of break that down a little bit. I think adjustments to the line. I would say that this is 57%, 55 to 60% Pittsburgh, and 40% Ottawa, just running out of gas, not having that skill. And I think their top six being so inconsistent. I mean, I feel like Pajot has been. I mean, we've talked a lot about how great Pajot was, but he's had that one big game, but hasn't done anything else.
And then
Bobby Ryan, game
this
one.
is where I thought Ottawa was going to fall short. They have Karlsson, but he's a defenseman. Yeah. They don't have a Crosby. They don't have a Malkin. They don't even have a Kessel. So, like, who are you going to rely on? You know, there's been some good stories in this playoffs, the resurgence of Bobby Ryan and stuff, but they don't have that pure goal scorer, the guy that can make the play at the key time to, you know, maybe that will happen next game, but I just don't see the guy on their team to do that.
I think Kyle Turris will get there at some point, but I just feel like their forwards have been mostly inconsistent.
And a lot of that has been that they're so focused on defense.
Yeah.
That when they're losing 2-0, they don't know how to adjust to that, you know?
Yeah. I agree with you. And when it's 2 or 3-0, when you're 2 or 3-0 down in Ottawa, it's I mean, you've come back a few times, but that you're not necessarily going to be doing that now. And Murray had a pretty easy night tonight, so.
Then again, you know, we do have a comment here talking about Game 3, how the Penguins were humiliated and Crosby was as bad as Karlsson. Every game is different. This might wake up a beast within Ottawa, just like what it did for Game 3 for Pittsburgh. You could say that, obviously. I mean, I was saying that with Pittsburgh, but that was mostly because, one, I'm a fan, so I'm hopeful. And second, I was like, I've seen it before. From Pittsburgh, I've seen them turn it on. With Ottawa, you know, maybe they just had a really bad effort, and part of it was a bad effort. Obviously, you don't lose 7-0 just playing a great game. That doesn't work. So maybe they had a terrible game, and they'll win the next game. Who really knows at this point? But we're just saying that there's a lot of things that have kind of happened over the past couple of games, I think, where Ottawa just, as time has gone on, the injuries are starting to pile up. Karlsson doesn't look the same. And the system is kind of breaking down a little bit because Pittsburgh is starting to figure out ways how to score.
But you look back at that Game 3 and you know, everyone was on that, but you look back after the first period, that the game, like, if you take away the first period, the game was actually kind of even.
I thought it was. Honestly, I think you could go back to that recap of that game. Was I on it? I don't know. But the way I was feeling at that moment was I felt that Ottawa, they scored 48 seconds in. The home crowd got, like, absolutely riled up. They got a couple lucky bounces. Fleury had a terrible game. And it just went that way for Ottawa. But Pittsburgh continued to stay in the game, and it continued to be very close. With this one, it seemed like Pittsburgh was running all over them the whole game.
Yeah, this was a bit of a different blowout. It was more reminiscent of Edmonton-Anaheim Game 6, where it was just completely all Edmonton the whole game. I didn't feel like Ottawa was in this game at any point.
Yeah, that's the tough part, to say that they will rebound. It's obviously possible. Yeah. But it's tough to predict that. Yeah. So going through some of the performances tonight, looking at Pittsburgh, obviously we talked enough about Ottawa for them being disappointing. Looking at Pittsburgh, some of the good players, I want to talk about some of the players that have kind of, you know, had a coming out party or like a comeback a little bit. I think Olli Maatta, who, you know, gave up that goal in overtime, really poor goal in game number 1, has had a great last couple of games. He scored in both games, whether they were lucky or not. He scored, and I think he's been solid on both sides of the puck. I think Scott Wilson moving to the second line, I'm not sure if he is hurt because he got hurt at the end of the game, but moving him to the second line obviously helped. Malkin got 3 assists in this game. You know, it wasn't his greatest game. He didn't seem like dominant, but he had 3 points. Rust, obviously, coming back from the injury was huge. Crosby's been great. Daly, I think, has been really good since coming back in the lineup. Bonino had his best game maybe of the playoffs, at least offensively. Like you said, Kunitz, and I think all these guys. And the last one I want to mention is Hagelin. Hagelin, the last 2 games, being on the 4th line, has just he's been skating like Hagelin. You think Hagelin would be skating. The first few games where he was playing, he didn't seem the same speed. He didn't seem like he was coming off that injury, and it took him a long time to come back. And finally, it seems like he has his feet with him, and that's good. And, of course, Matt Murray, who got the shutout tonight. Solid. I don't think Ottawa really had a great opportunity, but I was back and forth in the second and the third period between the Canada game, so I don't really know if there was an awesome opportunity for Murray to stop, but Murray was, again, solid. And this happened all season long, Kev, and I'm a Penguins fan, so I would know this. I don't know why, and it's not that Fleury is worse than Murray at all. It's just weird that the Penguins play way better with Murray in net. And it's been happening the last year's playoffs, this year in the regular season. If you look at the wins and losses for both goalies this regular season, Murray was far better. And it wasn't necessarily because Murray was a lot better in net, but it just seemed like the Penguins played better for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason is.
I think Sullivan is more comfortable with Murray in the net, to be honest with you. That goes back to their time in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. I think Sullivan and Murray are more comfortable together. I think the system is more comfortable together. I think as a team they're more comfortable with Murray. I mean, I'm not a goaltending expert, but it feels like Murray is positionally maybe a bit more structured than Fleury. Not that Fleury is a terrible goalie under any circumstances, but feels like Murray brings a different sort of calmness and demeanor where maybe Fleury gives the team a bit more panic in certain situations.
All right, let's get to the chat, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit about that Canada-Sweden game. Let's go to the chat, and Jason says, Penn's depth is crazy. If they can win Game 6, which I think they will, I see them taking the cup again. CBR Paul says, what's up, dogs? The Penguins just need to keep that fire. 5 more wins. Bodo says 5 power play goals in the last 3 games. 3 for 3 today. Yeah, the power play has been really good. Part of that has just been Crosby, I think. I think part of that has been the way Crosby has been playing, and that really helps, as well as the fact that I think the defensemen have been a lot better offensively, which, of course, Schultz is out, Letang is out. So you need someone offensive to step up. They had Mark Streit out there at times, who I think has been really good on the power play, and also Daly, who I think has been pretty good too. Bodo said, was this the NHL or was this the Cavaliers versus the Celtics?
Bit of column B. It was a tribute to the Cavaliers and the Celtics.
The Monstars. Kyle G says Preds versus Pens is going to be very entertaining. Bobby says, I think this game is a killer. I know that the series isn't over, but I just see the Penguins bringing it again during Game 6. It will be close, though. And then he says, we don't usually see Kev's face.
This is my face.
What else? Vaughn Hook says, this game reminded me of the Sharks-Oilers Game 4, 7-0. He says, I hate the Pens and the Pats. Thanks, bro. Kyle says Kyle says more controlled movement Murray has.
Yes, I could see that.
Jeremy says now Mitch shows up. Do you guys not understand? Wait, I wasn't on the one where they won. So how does that even work? But
Mitch, people, we have lives. We can't be just on Bottom Line View like 24/7.
Notice how Adam hasn't shown up the last 2 games.
Adam, come on.
Yeah, where's Adam at? Anyways, and we also got Ain't Over Till the Fat Lady Sings. Bodo says, gotta love Mitch. He always sees everything through black and gold colored glasses. Hey, it's just because they're the winning glasses. Oh. Ask Kev. I only see things that win.
Apparently, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Mitch, you said Ottawa wins Game 3. You'll say Ottawa deserves to be here. Ottawa deserves to be here. I think they proved that in the last couple of games. I think after this performance, people are a little, they're pausing a little bit and they're saying, was it bad Pittsburgh or was it good Ottawa the first few games? But we'll see next game. If Ottawa definitely comes back after that 7-0 thrashing and wins, then for sure Ottawa is legit. But I think if the Penguins do have another similar performance to this, say like 4-1, something like that, then people may be like, what, was it good Penguins or was it good Ottawa or was it bad Pittsburgh? We'll see. But I think Ottawa definitely does deserve to be here. I mean, I really do think still that Ottawa was the better team. Like if Ottawa played, or if Washington was the better team than Ottawa. So if Washington would have played Ottawa in the second round, I think Washington would have won. That's just my opinion. But, I thought that Ottawa, the reason why I was so down on Ottawa before the series is because of their road to get here, while Pittsburgh had to play, Washington, and that wasn't really fair because Washington and Pittsburgh were the two top teams during the regular season and the two top contenders in the conference. But some guys on Washington did win a gold medal today. Backstrom scored one of the shootout goals. Did you happen to watch any of the game, Kev? I thought it was a pretty entertaining one.
I saw a bit of it. It was. I'm not a huge World Championship fan.
Yeah,
but I saw.
You know what? I find myself watching it when I feel like Canada has a legitimate chance to win.
Yeah, and they pulled off a remarkable comeback yesterday to get to this point, I hate losing things and winning and losing things in shootouts. I think it's just completely dumb, especially gold medal games. That's just dumb. And yeah. But kudos to Sweden and King Henrik for winning.
I mean, there is an argument for the shootout thing, and I totally understand where you're coming from. But like again, this is the world stage, and that's how they've always done it. And it kind of like gives that extra flair to the world games where you always remember those shootouts, like the World Junior shootouts, or the Olympic with TJ Oshie shootouts. You remember those moments when they do happen. So there's pros and cons to it, especially when your team loses. You'll obviously be on the con side. And I thought that Sweden would probably win the shootout because of Lundqvist, but Lundqvist finally got that. And even as a Canadian and wanting to see Canada win, it was nice to see Lundqvist win the gold.
Yeah, for sure, and good for Alex Edler. Good for Sweden. They've become a really dominant hockey market. Understated, but they've been around for some time. And I mean, they were in the gold medal final a few years ago. They've won their share of world championships or world junior championships too. So
they won gold in 2006 too in the Olympics. So anyways, any final questions for myself or Kev regarding the playoffs, even if it's Predators, Ducks, NHL, anything NHL really, Penguins, Senators, anything for that? Von Hook says Karlsson is better than Lidstrom. I would probably say no to that.
No.
That's just me. CBR Paul says, do they play there? What?
Play where?
Is going to be in Pittsburgh Tuesday night. Do they play there? No, they play in Ottawa.
They play. It goes back to Ottawa, and then they'll get I think it'll be a close game, but I suspect that Pittsburgh. I'm thinking, this is my bold prediction. By Tuesday, we will know the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, this is the way I see it. And again, I am a Pittsburgh fan. I would be pretty surprised if Pittsburgh lost on Tuesday, even though it's in Ottawa, because I've seen this before. Again, I've seen this before. The Penguins always seem to close it out in this situation. When they have a huge game, a game 5 or a game 6 where they perform really, really well, they usually win the next game, and they usually win it pretty convincingly. It happened, it's happened this year. It happened last year. I think that we'll probably see a Penguins win, but again, if Ottawa pulls their head out of their ass and they have a better performance today and they make a couple adjustments, and that's going to be key, can they make some adjustments? They can win the game. Obviously, especially if they start early and they get, one goal early to get the crowd into it, that's going to be massive. But history tells me again that I think Pittsburgh will finish it. We'll see, though. Would you have a prediction for Tuesday? You said that Pittsburgh will probably win, I guess.
I'm boldly predicting that we're gonna know the Stanley Cup finalists, both Stanley Cup finalists.
So Predators and Penguins, I'm guessing then.
Yeah.
Okay. So Predators and Penguins, that would be a pretty cool series. That would be awesome. And it would have, two different type of fan bases too, and pretty into it fan bases right now, at least.
Yeah. Can you imagine just the preview of Crosby and Subban and the media and it'll be interesting. I mean, that's what I'm suspecting. I mean, Anaheim can absolutely, and Ottawa too, can absolutely come back.
I actually think Anaheim might win.
They might.
I mean, I've been doubting Nashville. I love Nashville. Don't get me wrong, but ever since Johansson went down, I was pretty surprised that they won last game.
Yeah, I was too. I thought
so. I don't know, but Nashville, obviously, they're in Smashville. So
do you realize though? Nobody's talking about. I mean, I know we're talking about Ryan Johansson, but you're without Raquel and Patrick Eves.
Yeah,
you're out, and Corey Perry has been outstanding in overtime, but I haven't seen him in regulation time.
Raquel was huge for them. He was a first line player.
Yeah,
and he was a solid third liner, but still.
And you don't know what you're going to get from Gibson. He left the game yesterday.
Is he playing?
So. What's that?
Is he playing?
He's according to him, he is playing. But
okay. So I guess you're picking Smashville then.
I'm thinking Nashville does it.
Okay. Let's be entertaining. Let's say Anaheim wins in overtime. 3-2.
All right.
3-2.
Getzlaf and the winner gets the winner.
Yeah, Getzlaf gets the winner. And Von Hook says, "Where's Fitty Trent?" Fitty Trent's at work right now. Sorry he couldn't make it. I know y'all love Fitty Trent. He'll be back here soon. He always wants to be on these recaps. He loves talking to you guys. He'll be back very soon. And also, he didn't want to deal with the wrath of me tonight. I'm pretty sure.
The wrath of you.
Jeremy says, if the Penguins didn't have Crosby and Malkin, would they even make the playoffs? Probably not.
Well, if the Flames had Crosby and Malkin, we'd be in the final.
Probably not. No. Yeah, especially with Letang getting hurt constantly, probably not. Yeah. So, anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. It's been Penguins Ottawa Senators Game 5 recap, 7-0 for the Penguins. Touchdown Steelers. Game.
Hey,
6.
who's the better quarterback? Crosby or Roethlisberger?
Are we talking like football or like hockey?
Who's the better quarterback? Crosby or Roethlisberger?
Yes, that's just an inside joke. If you guys know Kevil, he hates Roethlisberger.
Ben sucks.
Anyways, one thing to shout out for you guys, or two things actually. Tonight, if you're a wrestling fan, we got the Backlash review for you. It's going to be myself. I don't know if Dylan's going to be on there or not. Kev's not going to be on there because he just doesn't want to watch it. Fair enough. And then after the Backlash review, we are going to have our first live episode of WWE GM Mode. It's me versus Dylan. It's going to be live, so you guys can be on there. You can tell us who to pick, who to book in matches, who to have rivalries with. That's going to be pretty fun. It's going to be live again right after the Backlash review tonight. Me versus Dylan in video games. It's going to be fun.
You should do a poll. What will be more entertaining, Backlash or the GM mode?
Probably the GM mode. Thanks, guys, for watching. From Mitch and Kev, peace out.
Peace.